I'm a native New Yorker, and found myself married to somebody not Jewish, living in Pennsylvania, then in Northern Virginia. And I view my college education as useless and irrelevant, because all it trained me to do was be a cashier. Ironically, all I ever wanted to do was run a store or own a retail store, and I did that, a lot of that. But when we moved back to New York, and I went back into retail, or I continued in retail, that's when I met Alan. But being a native New Yorker gives being a real estate agent a very different perspective. And I see that when I meet other agents. I did grow up here. I went to Music and Art High School, and then we transitioned to LaGuardia. I was a vocal major. I come from a very long line of singers. My mom's a jazz musician, jazz singer, and vocal teacher. I grew up around some of the greatest jazz musicians in my house, at all hours of the day and night, as I was growing up, and my kids grew up with that too, thankfully, which gave them a good sense of perspective, because they were around all these amazingly famous people who no one never heard of, because who ever heard of jazz? But it was a big deal for them to grow up with that. I do have 2 kids. My daughter's 23. She is a Taekwondo master and instructor. She is also a competitive athlete in Taekwondo. My son is 22 tomorrow, and he left Taekwondo for ultra running. So he took one lonely sport and turned it into a much more lonely sport. But he runs ultra marathons that are, he's training for a 50K and a 65K and a 100-miler. That'll be the biggest balance of his year. Will be a 50K, a 65K, and a 100-miler, which I want to say I dropped him on his head, but I didn't, because he did Taekwondo for 17 years. So he got kicked in the head a lot, and that's how we ended up there. I can't explain it. I skated until I didn't. Anyway, but being around jazz music all my life, and my mom being a jazz musician, she's part of an organization called Music on the Inside, MOTI, and she sits on the board, and will be replacing her seat next couple of months, on the board there. Music on the Inside brings jazz education into the prison systems. So we've been in Rikers, we're Queens County, we're in Kings County, I think we're in 10 different systems right now. But we bring some of the biggest jazz musicians into the prisons and teach the prisoners how to play, how to sing, which is an amazing transition for them as they're transitioning out back into the society. We have a lot of really successful cases, gentlemen and a few ladies who have learned how to play guitar or flute or violin, sing. They learn how to sing the blues, and we just kind of take that forward. And I've been working with them since day one. Been a labor of love, but it's a lot of fun. And it kind of gave me the push into real estate when the woman that created the organization, who happens to be the person that founded Jazz at Lincoln Center. And she put Wynton Marsalis on the map. She pulled him out of New Orleans, out of the middle of a band, and put him in front. So she's about to be awarded, receive a very huge award from the Jazz Foundation, which is amazing. And she's not even aware of it yet. But when she said, "Oh, I need help selling my apartment. Do you know a broker?" I'm like, everybody in New York City knows a broker. And I started asking the brokers that I know, and I'm like, I'll suck at this. And I had realized that this was a better thing for me to do. because I'm better at it. Before I even got into it, I knew I'd be better at it. And that's how I ended up in real estate, which brought me to Compass eventually, after a few years. I've only been in the business for about 4.5 years now. It's interesting what Ed said, the more you narrow your market, the wider your market becomes. And that's kind of what I've done. Yes, real estate, everybody needs a place to live. Everybody needs a place to work. Their business needs to be somewhere. You need an address, and that's great. But I'm definitely come from a place of making it easier, giving back in some way, even if it's to a huge corporation that's making a ton of money, because if I give it back, I give them the option to give it back to somebody else. And that's why when I have spoken to several of you, it's always, what are you looking for? And my connection is, I want your HR departments. I want your C-suites, because I want to save that company some money with their relocation business. When I do about 99% of Facebook's relocation in Manhattan. I have a network of agents throughout the country that work primarily tech sector, real estate, and we work very closely together. So if somebody has a Googler leaving Cupertino and they're headed to New York, I know about it before New York even knows about it. So I'm on top of that, and I'm able to connect and get them set up in their housing before they even get here, in one way or another. Most companies pay relocation services a fortune.
Yeah.
And then they pay the broker as well. So if I'm cutting out that relocation service, they're still needed, because I'm not going to get the foreign national, his social security number, his bank card, and all that. That's what the relocation services are for. I look at it in terms of, come direct to me. You're going to save 35% of whatever it is you're paying, and you're still going to pay me, but I give them the option of donating that money back out. And that's where I put Music on the Inside in front of them. Been pretty an interesting ride doing that. We've gotten some interesting characters walking into our salons. A few high-end Googlers, a few Facebook people that you would recognize come to our salons every now and then, and they donate, and it's pretty awesome. So giving that full circle service is definitely my goal always. It's funny, I was thinking about what is my percentage of my business breakdown to, and I realized 10% of that business is my mother. Just talking about me at synagogue and literally pushing aside other brokers and saying, no, call my daughter. And that actually, I was thinking about that after conversation with Scott this morning. But so that's kind of me. The first question I get from everybody is, what is the market like? So this is what the market is like. And I'm happy to share my screen if you want.
Please.
I can figure out how.
You have admin. You could actually bounce people out if they're annoying you.
Hi, Alan. No, I'm kidding. You know I love you.
Very nice.
You know I love you, Alan.
Very nice. Ouch.
All right. So I went to Music and Art High School. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. That's there. LaGuardia, Music on the Inside. Okay, so right now, this is as of yesterday. Literally, I did this 10 minutes before I hopped on this call. Manhattan market, there's only 5,625 units available on the market right now, with pending sales of 4,357. That leaves us with very little inventory.
Oh my God.
Right. Exactly. It's mind-boggling.
And there's a few other brokers in the city, right?
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah.
One or two. So I compete against 39,999 other real estate agents in New York City, and I understand that has gone up.
That's
just within the 5 boroughs. During COVID, people got bored, they can take the course online, and they did. And so now we have more brokers. The reality is, out of the 40 whatever thousand there are, maybe 20% are, you'll see the names regularly. I'm one of those brokers you see regularly. I am never without something happening. I am on a team I will be inheriting in 2 years. So I'm in the process of building that team, and in doing that, I get interns from a high school called City as School in the city. CAS is a school that's designed for kids that just kind of tap out of the high stakes schools. They don't do well, whatever, but they're, they're good kids. They tend to be a little older. My current intern, I have had her on social media since day one. And she told us yesterday that she has enrolled in real estate school and she wants to work with us. So that was a huge success for me. That was a huge win because I didn't want to lose her. But she doesn't graduate until June, but she will be a real estate agent before she graduates, which is pretty awesome. Great.
Jen, can you go back to the previous slide for a second?
Inventory, supply.
Yeah, that's. No,
so look where we are. We're up 12.8% from the month before, but we're down 20.1% from a year ago. There is no inventory. And I know that is a hot topic. You hear it all the time. There's very little supply in the city, very little inventory to sell, because everything's in contract. These are, 3/4 of this, more than 3/4 of it is already in contract. But to go from there, to here, our median sales have gone up year to date 15.5%. That's our median sales price has gone up. Price per square foot 17.4%. But our days on market is down, which is great. Love that. We were sitting really at about 120 days on market, and now we're 76, which I love. That brings us, why do we sit on the market? Because contracts take forever, and those are attorneys that deal with that. Once they're signed. The other part of the question is, aren't interest rates going up? They are, but if you look right here, it doesn't matter. We still have the sales. If we were not, if the interest rates were really affecting us, we would not have as many units in contract. People are getting their mortgages. They're able to move forward. The writing was on the wall in 2020 when everybody got stuck inside with the same people in the same four walls, and they couldn't reach their brokers because we weren't allowed to leave our own houses. So the market's been a madhouse, and it doesn't look like it's really slowing down. We are still in a downturn market as we were pre-COVID, but we're higher than we were. The answer to the question, is it a buyer's market or seller's market? The answer is yes. Bottom line is it's yes, it's both. Sellers are getting numbers. Sellers are getting ridiculous numbers. They are getting as much as 14.9% over ask right now in Manhattan. In the counties, Westchester, Nassau County, Orange, we're seeing things as high as 50%. And outside of New York State, I'm hearing from my friends 100% over ask with inflated pricing. I cannot imagine what that would look like in New York, because a buyer has to give up their rights. If they're mortgaging, that's a lot of money out of pocket to still mortgage a lot of money. So the numbers are there and the market is moving. Businesses are bringing in their workers, their employees are coming back. Everybody except LinkedIn is back in the office. LinkedIn is the only company that is completely 100% virtual now. And they are not planning on coming back. I know that because they used to be one of my reload clients. I have lots of LinkedIn people who are now leaving their homes and we're selling them, which is awesome. Because they're going back to wherever they want to be. They can live wherever they want. And so that's kind of what the market looks like right now in New York. It's a little bit of a madhouse, but I'll take it any day. Because during COVID, I think I took 2 days off during COVID. I worked harder than anybody else in my on my team. I was, we weren't allowed in the office, but I was on the phones calling my sphere. I was sending out emails, mailers, whatever I can do to keep business moving. And that's what I did.